So I just got out of the theaters from watching Deadpool and Wolverine. So let's talk about it. Hello everyone and welcome back to Geek City. I just want to mention this is a spoiler review for Deadpool and Wolverine. If you have not seen it, go watch it, then come back here because I will be talking spoilers. Now if you don't care, cool. Thank you for watching. So, I'm very excited to talk about this one. I've, again, decorated the setup to kind of fit the theme of the videos I'm talking about. I want to do that from now on. So, thought I'd break it down for you. Got a Logan Funko. Looks pretty cool here. Went up and picked the Deadpool book up because I don't really own it. I just realized I could have displayed this. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. I could have displayed this. I'll do that. Hold on. I'm realizing now I could have decorated a lot more. Look at me, I'm so silly. Nice. We're just off to a great start here. There we go. Okay. Anyway. There we go. Some Lego, Cyclops, Magneto, Wolverine, Funko Pop, random Deadpool, Wolverine stuff. Anyway. So, obviously, I'm a huge X-Men fan, huge Wolverine fan, so I was very excited to see this movie since it's very much going to be a tribute to Deadpool and Wolverine and the X-Men, Fantastic Four, the Daredevil movies, all those early 2000s Marvel films. And I'm very happy to say this lived up to the hype in every single way possible. I really liked this movie. I think this is a perfect close-off to the X-Men universe, bringing them into the MCU. I just had so much fun. So as you know how I do my spoiler reviews, I just kind of go through the movie, talk about what I thought about each, individual, well, not every single scene, but the big moments here. So we have this really cool, messed up scene where Deadpool goes to Logan's grave, and he takes, his adamantium skeleton, and we find out, yeah, Logan's dead, confirmed. X-Men, Wolverine, the one from the X-Men 2000 to Logan, he's dead, gone. The one we were following for about 20 years, he's dead. Glad they set that up, because I think some people were still confused about that. So we have this really fun opening fight scene where Daredevil is killing these TVA members by using Daredevil's adamantium skeleton, which was just so much fun. That's when we really get into the plot of this film, that Deadpool's kind of stopped being Deadpool. He works at this car dealership now, and him and Vanessa, I forget her name, they broke up, and he's having a birthday celebration with all of his friends, Colossus, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, all of those guys, they're all here. And of course, the best taxi driver ever that anyone could ask for. So that's when the TVA shows up, and we learn just kind of about what the story is here, about how Logan is now that he's dead, it's kind of hard to explain going into it, since I'm obviously not able to write notes in the movie theater, but it's now that Logan's dead, that messes up the timeline and everything, so Deadpool's universe is going to get destroyed, but they want Deadpool to join this task force or something. I also forgot to mention here, he tries joining the Avengers. We get a Happy Hogan cameo in here, which is just really fun. I was hoping maybe Tony Stark would show up, since it takes place in 2018, maybe Tony Stark would show up just to really confirm that this is an MCU movie, but that doesn't happen. But it's okay, I'm fine with that. So we have Deadpool being yeah, I don't want my universe to die. So that's when he's I'm going to go find Logan so that my universe does not die. But then that shows that Logan is dead. So now he needs to find a new Wolverine. So that's the plot of this film, or the first plot of this movie, is basically Deadpool doesn't want his universe to be destroyed, so he needs to go find a Wolverine to be the savior of the universe or whatever, so that the timeline can be restored, and so Deadpool's X-Men universe can stay alive, because that's where his family is. And so we get this really, 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 really cool scene montage where we see all these different versions of Wolverine. We see a comic-accurate 5'3" Wolverine, which is just so much fun. That was so funny. He even has the classic comic book hair. And then we see Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, where he's missing the arm and everything. That was so cool. I have the comic right. Here it is. And things are falling. This Age of Apocalypse Wolverine shows up, which is just a cool little cameo in here. I thought that was really neat that they decided to have a, ties to the different comic books there. And then we see this guy right here. We see the brown and yellow suit in live action for the first time, which it looked really cool. He even Deadpool's like, oh, we have the John Byrne suit. And then he turns around, and that's where you see Hulk. So we have John Byrne, brown and yellow Wolverine fighting against Hulk, which was just so much fun. And then we have the one where he's on the X. He's tied to the X. And that's in a comic that I own down here. So we're just seeing a ton of different comic book versions. We see a Henry Cavill one in here, because I believe there are rumors that Henry Cavill would be Wolverine and all that, so they just decided to make a little cameo about that. And they even take a little jab at DC of saying, we'll treat you better than those guys across the street did, obviously referencing Superman and DC and how poorly handled that was. So that was a lot of fun. So that montage is one of my favorite parts of the movie. Seeing Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, Hulk versus Wolverine, all that stuff was really, really cool. So that was a lot of fun. And then he finds the one that we're following in this movie. He was just this really, he's drunk and he's kind of a waste. And so he goes back to the TVA saying, look, I found a Wolverine. Things can be restored. And they're like, yeah, that's not how this works. So they both get pruned and they get sent to the Pruniverse. That's what I'm going to call it here. And we see they have a fun fight scene, which I want to mention now, Sean Levy did a great job. The fight scenes in this movie are so much fun, especially when you're having Deadpool Wolverine. They have a few fights in here. Since they're both able to regenerate, they're able to just keep stabbing each other and shooting each other. It's so much fun, especially that one in the car, that fight scene in the car, which we'll get to in a little bit here. But basically they fight, and then that's when you see this dude wearing this long coat, and he's wearing blue. And it's like, that voice sounds familiar. And we see the X-Men villains coming in, which we already knew that Toad, Sabretooth, Juggernaut, we already knew they would all be here. And then the dude jumps down. It's Chris Evans. Captain America, right? So Deadpool's like, oh my god, he's gonna say Avengers symbol. But then he says, flame on, and he turns into the Human Torch. That was so cool. Seeing Chris Evans in that Fantastic Four suit again was so cool. And it's weird seeing Chris Evans curse, since I'm used to him being the wholesome, patriotic Captain America. But Chris Evans is actually in this film a lot longer than I thought. I thought he would become Human Torch and get annihilated immediately, but he actually stays because he gets captured with Deadpool and Wolverine. And that's when they meet Cassandra Nova inside the big Ant-Man thing here. And that's when they kill Human Torch. Which was just so much fun that they got Chris Evans to come back to the MCU. Technically, this is an MCU movie. So we are seeing Chris Evans in the MCU again, just not the same role as we're used to seeing him in. So that was really cool. I kind of wish that Chris Evans, Captain America, and Human Torch got to interact. That would have been really cool. But basically, Cassandra Nova is introduced, and we're very much setting up that there's a lot more of heart to the story than we thought. It's not just an edgy Deadpool cursing movie. There is some heart here about Deadpool doesn't really have a purpose. He's just kind of, he feels like he's lost a loved one, and that's the same with Wolverine, where Wolverine blames himself for the death of his whole universe. And so they managed to escape Cassandra Nova, and that's when they meet like the dog pool in this like kind of comic book version of Deadpool here, and we learn that there's like a whole core of Deadpool people, like a whole little corpse here. And so they pick up a car, and that's when we have the second fight scene after Wolverine gives this really powerful speech where he is just insulting Deadpool, talking about how he is worthless and everybody he loves, he doesn't love him, and that it's just a lot. It's the Deadpool's like, I'm gonna fight you now, and then they have this really fun fight scene in the car. But then they both pass out, and the mysterious stranger drives them off, and that's when we get into the second half of this movie, which is just bonkers crazy. And we're about to talk about the big cameos here. I just want to say this movie handled cameos perfectly to where they all feel deserved. There isn't a single cameo in here. Well, there's kind of a Thor cameo in here. So there's a little Thor cameo in here, but it's for like 5 seconds. You see him on a screen, so it's a little different. But every real live-action cameo where we are seeing them interacting with Deadpool and Wolverine feels earned. They don't feel like cheap cameos. They feel like they actually move the story forward, like with Human Torch and all that, and the ones we're about to get to. So they wake up in this house, and that's when we see Jennifer Gardner, Elektra, Wesley Snipes, Blade, and Channing Tatum as Gambit, which, in case you don't know, Channing Tatum is going to play Gambit, and then the movie got canceled. So seeing him in the comic accurate suit feels really weird, because Channing Tatum's huge, and Gambit's supposed to be like a slim, athletic type, so he looks huge in this suit, and it does not fit right at all. But it's still so cool that they got him to play Gambit. So seeing the Daredevil movies and the Blade movies and all that merging together was just so cool. Seeing and that kind of makes me appreciate the Elektra movie more, even though it is not good. But they're actually here and they're actually in the story, and that's when we see X-23, Logan, the girl from Logan. She's grown up a lot now, so she's a part of here too. She was also blipped or whatever it's called. I'm forgetting the name now. But so they all decide we're gonna go to Cassandra Nova. We're gonna take her out. We are going to stop Cassandra Nova. And so they all get in the car and they go and fight Cassandra Nova. And just again, so cool to see Elektra, Blade, and Gambit together fighting. And X-23, she puts the sunglasses on and they all fight with Deadpool and Wolverine. Just a really fun scene. Again, I feel like the cameos in here, they're actually in the plot. Like, they are actually in the movie for about 15, 20 minutes. They're actually a part of the story. And then Deadpool and Wolverine get jumped into the Doctor Strange portal because they make a deal with Cassandra Nova after killing off all the X-Men villains like Juggernaut and all that. Now, I will say there was a lot of rumors that them jumping into the portal, they'd be going to the MCU, and that's like 35 minutes in the movie. No, that's not what happens. It's towards the end. So they jump into the portal, they get back into the X-Men universe here, and they basically they have to go stop the TVA dude. I forget his name, the British guy. And that's when we see this huge group of Deadpool people show up, including Dogpool, Lady Deadpool, a Kid Pool, a little cowboy Deadpool. I wish we got to see who Lady Deadpool was. I really wish it was Blake Lively. I think that would have been hilarious if they did that. Like, if she just took off the mask and it was Blake Lively, or a female version of Ryan Reynolds, something like that. I think it would have been funny. But still, it's really cool. They get this really fun fight scene where Deadpool gets the gold pistols and they all brutally take out all these Deadpools. But then they get back up. So yeah. Then they go to fight Cassandra Nova, and we think that Deadpool and Wolverine are going to die. They're not going to die. So they do that thing with the weird TVA time. I'm terrible at describing this stuff, but basically they defeat Cassandra Nova, and the TVA show up. And so they, Deadpool's timeline is saved. Surprisingly, Wolverine's timeline is not saved, because that's what gets him here. They're like, hey, can we, bring Wolverine's timeline back? And they're like, no, because the choices he made today are because of that. So no. Which is just crazy. I didn't expect that. I thought he would go back to the X-Men mansion. We would see, like, James Marsden, Cyclops, and Jean Grey, and Halle Berry, Storm, all that stuff. But that's not what happened. Surprisingly, his universe stays dead, but he decides to stick around and join this Deadpool universe. And that's when we close off the movie here. And then we have a little end credit scene just kind of showing more stuff with Chris Evans. So, this movie, that's the plot. Now let's talk about, like, really specifics on, like, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it. This movie is a great tribute to those early 2000s films. With the cameos, the story, during the credits, there's a nice little thing showing some behind the scenes of, the X-Men movies, Fantastic Four, all that stuff. I thought that was really, really cool. It was a little corny with the music and everything, but you could tell Ryan Reynolds and the team cared, and they wanted to make a great tribute to those movies. You could really feel that. I really appreciate that. I thought that was just handled really, really well. The action scenes in here are really, really good. I love they're fast paced and they're choreographed really, really well in here. The cameos, again, they felt earned. They felt like they actually are pushing the plot forward. They actually mean something. And it's cool to see these X-Men villains again, like, with Sabretooth and Pyro and Juggernaut, Lady Deathstrike. Even though Lady Deathstrike was not Kelly Hu. But still, really cool to see these old actors back. I hate that we didn't get the, do you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut. I wish we got to see that line again, but it's cool. It's fine. I forgive them. So the cameos well deserved. The action scenes were great. There are a ton of hilarious jokes in here. The performances are great from Deadpool and Wolverine. Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, of course, give a great performance. And this movie has some heart to it. There are some moments in here where you genuinely are like, oh man, that kind of sucks. There are some sympathetic moments in here where you really feel bad for these two characters that we're following. But it doesn't break, like, they don't use comedy to break away from the tension. I feel like that's been a problem with MCU, where they're trying to have a serious moment and then someone makes a stupid quip and everybody's supposed to laugh, but it's not funny. And this movie doesn't do that. The comedy is hilarious, but it doesn't take away from the story going on here. Also, a lot of people have had issues with the pacing because it's only 2 hours and 7 minutes. I didn't feel that personally. I didn't feel like the pacing was that bad. I'm honestly glad it was the runtime it was. I wasn't bothered by it being quote unquote short. I think that it was fine and that it worked for the movie that they were doing. So that didn't bother me at all. I wasn't bothered by the runtime here. That wasn't a big deal to me. So there are like a few nitpicks in here. There are a few times where the CGI looks a little weird, like when Cassandra Nova puts her fingers inside their heads, but that's kind of hard to do visually. And then there's a scene where she's dragging the dude, the TVA British guy, I forget his name. That CGI looks weird. There are a few times where the CGI is like, okay, it's not great. But I can forgive that, as long as you got a good story. A few spotty CGI moments I could forgive. I do wish we had a few more X-Men cameos in here. I wish we got to see those old X-Men characters, like, again, Cyclops, Jean, Storm. It would have been cool to see them, but it doesn't. The story they were telling didn't require them, so it's fine. I'm a little disappointed by it, but I'm not like, oh man, there's no cameos in here. It's not about the cameos, it's about the story that they're telling, and I appreciate that. In a world where, we're getting cameos just to kind of have them and it doesn't really move the story forward, this is another one of those movies where, it actually, there's a reason for it. And I appreciate that. I really, really dig that. So to wrap up my thoughts here, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was so much fun. One of my favorite X-Men movies at the current moment. One of my favorite MCU movies. And I don't think this is hype. Like, I genuinely just think it has a good story. Like with Spider-Man No Way Home, that's a movie where over time I've realized this is kind of a weak plot. But it's cool to see Tobey and Andrew. I have a lot of issues with that movie. This movie doesn't have that problem with the cameos and everything. It just is genuinely a good story with great character moments, great action. It felt deserved. It felt earned. The cameos felt earned. And so that's rare these days, so it's cool to see that here. So that's what I thought of the movie. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. So let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Like the video, subscribe, turn on notifications, because tomorrow I will be posting a X-Men ranking where I rank all of the X-Men films from X-Men to Deadpool, Wolverine. So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited about that. It's a video I've been working on where I had to go watch all the movies, and some of them I haven't seen in a while. So my thoughts on them have changed a lot. So stay tuned for that. I'm very excited for that video. So if you guys enjoyed, again, subscribe, comment, notifications, all that crap. And as always, stay geeky, bub. See what I did there?